Right, hello, welcome everybody. Day 18. Day 17 was the most chill stream ever, where practically nothing happened other than figuring out what we would have done today. I will get on with it and actually do stuff today. So, what we figured out last episode is that, and I did keep these up, we basically want to move the limited ankle, which right now is being provided by leg global, from the leg global into the IK. These actually should be called blends. There you go, fixed. And that's pretty much it for the first step. That means we want to shuffle the interface around a bit. And this is basically the equivalent. I don't regret having done that super slow stream, because this is the equivalent of occasionally stop writing code and start refactoring while you can still refactor without changing the interfaces too much. It is sometimes necessary. It's kind of tough when you have to talk about things and do them at the same time while flying by the seat of your pants. So yeah, I regret nothing. Now, however, I would like this to be a little bit quicker than what we had before. Let's look at what we can do. So, femur length, tibia length. We do not want these to be in the leg global any longer. And where are they going? Leg config parameters. So, guide leg config parameters is these. So everything is pinned here. I don't want to mess with this view too much. Like I don't want to compromise it. So let's close a couple tabs. And we are gonna keep, sorry. We are gonna keep this view as our master view, like this node editor tab as our master view. That we keep in good health and with a good layout. That might also mean that we probably want to turn off additive graphing mode so that stuff doesn't just pop into it willy-nilly. And femur and tibia length. Do we have both connected? Only the femur length. Now, is that femur length going anywhere else in here? No, it's not. So let's start cleaning these up. It does not make sense that we have these here. Well, it won't make sense because of what we're doing. We want the guide in the leg to actually provide those. The tibia length is being used somewhere. Total length node add. So what do we need to do? This is the leg global limited ankle. This is the part that we're saying is necessary for the IK to work, but should not be provided by the global. So it is okay for the leg global to provide the rolled ankle. Absolutely. And yes, we do know that that foot is out of whack. That's okay. We're just using a temporary interface for the foot connection. And we do have a foot roll. So we also have a key on these, which we might as well keep and just dump another one in there. So as the foot roll progresses, this is good. This does belong definitely to there. Limited ankle, word ankle. So what are we doing here? This is relying, let's take stock of what we have. And this is the other part where I said I do not love these, basically. Which is having the start and end word, like global input. So this is linked to, I mean, I don't mind it. It's okay to place the buffer for the ankle. I don't mind having what the God node provides in there, but I do not want it to travel out to other parameters. So to make these work, like global 2 parameters, yes, this is need to swap to do our guiding business later. Limited ankle, this should move for sure. This should move. Star matrix. We want to output this one. let's do us some surgery. That limited ankle should really become the rolled ankle output. What? I would like to change both names, please. Don't really need. Oh, okay, yeah, let's change the nice name. Which I don't mind personally. I'm not super fond of this thing where the display shows you the nice name, because then when you need to write something, you don't really know what the attribute is. So what else do we need? We need the start matrix, which is gonna be coming from, let's have a look at that. There is the output from the God node, it's getting offset. That should be practically hip offset is going both in the leg and in here. So start word is equivalent. That is good news for us, because it means that we already have that input in the leg. Leg input, leg config. We should be able to rehook all of this stuff. And that addition is femur length plus tibia length. So this lot really belongs to the leg. And we should also remember that we have assetized some of this stuff, so we need to make sure that we move it across the containers. It will need to move from the leg global to the leg L container. This is where normally I would have a piece of paper and take a couple quick notes, because we can't really like just reconnect things, as this is determining the legs in part, but we could do some of it. So from this lot, we actually want to input from here instead. Let's see if the graph will give us something reasonable. I will say we can disconnect these right away. We could already rename all of this stuff and move it across containers. So why not do that? So I'm moving that into the leg container. I will probably write a script to actually iterate over these and replace leg global with leg, but I'll do it later. Then what do we do here? Roll the ankle, get in the matrix. This will be the word matrix, I expect, yes. So let's rewire that. And this is the part where I like having comments and groups in the node editor will make such a huge difference. I had to spend a couple minutes like just remembering what exactly I wanted to change, and if during the inspection I could have just drawn a comment box, same as you have in Nuke or you had in Ice and so on, and go like, hey, these are the ones to refactor. That would have been very convenient, wouldn't it? Now the other bit that we're interested in is start matrix. This is, in this case, the fact that we put some of the interface in the God node helps us. Start word is what we're calling it here. So this should be good. We then want to get this from here. Tibia and femur. So this is the length of the tibia and femur to get the limiting. One was disconnected for some reason, which doesn't worry us all that much. We seem to be in okay shape insofar. So let's start. Again, Autodesk, if you watch this, please comment boxes. do us a solid. Give us comment boxes. So what we want, do we have the parameters in here? Yes, femur and tibia length. We would like not to inherit them any longer. Error occurred during the expression, so okay, we will need to look at the expression to make sure we don't have a boo-boo there. And femur length and tibia length like that. Sorry. And I think that might be most of our, if not all of our refactoring done. So this part, rolled ankle word matrix, is coming straight from the output. That is not what we want. We want to go in here instead. Now, in here we were going limited ankle. So that ankle displacement vector, tension, this is the part where no, this is still correct. So if this before, again, this should be a fairly straightforward swap. If this before was getting whatever it was getting, let me reframe this the slightest bit. Okay. If this before was receiving the ankle rolled and limited when something else had the responsibility to do it, then I imagine that fixing that bit should be, last famous words, as simple as reconnecting that. So I'm sort of intentionally flying blind here, as in doing it tabletop, to see if our principles hold. This is the one that I commented on. There's like, it's going to be under the webcam, but it says to do check if nodes upstream already offer length limited, because I suspect that we're limiting the length again or something like that. No, this is just the distance. Like limited length. Oh no, never mind. So this is correct. And is this too easy? So this was in word space and we're using this as a diagnostic. We could just convert this into a matrix. Now, the other thing, this was in global space here. We do want it to be in the global space of the leg. And it should be as simple as that. That one I want to rename right away because it bothers me a lot. The rest, all the digi nodes I do very badly need to rename as well, but they're not itching as fiercely as that one was. So if I look at the input-output kind of deal, it seems that we are in much better place. Now, leg global up vector and leg global SUT buffer, if we want to complete the interfaces, and we should, these need to go out properly. Might as well do it. Well, let's do two things. First, let's save. Because if I have to redo this, all this stuff, I'm not going to be happy. Then, okay, that seems to be behaving like it's limited. So there's a snap somewhere that's just our animation. Have we? Seems like we've done a decent enough job of it. Go as. Successful refactoring. Am I jinxing it by saying it? Alright. So it seems that the planning paid off. Either that, or we've introduced an issue so sneaky and so delayed that we're gonna pay a massive karmic debt for it later. But for now, we seem to be good. I did not see any errors. Save. Execution during expression solver. I'll need to have a look at that. I did invalid argument for ACOS. Okay, fair enough. So something went out of bounds. Probably while we were rewiring stuff, the limiting, because we're getting the not limited ankle for a very short amount of time. The R cosine as a domain of -1 to 1, and we were probably feeding in something greater than that. We should be okay now. What else do we have? I don't know, it seems okay to me. Chat, what do you think? Did we just successfully refactor this bunch of stuff? We're now responding to the whole output input obligation much better as well. This femur length, where is it going? Okay, so these we want to provide from the guide. We should be able to change it now. Yeah, there you go. Before, when I cut it, what happened is that I got that error because the cutting itself forced the expression to evaluate where the leg was too distended and we had not rewired the right parameters. So that is a non-issue. This is the input, so it's fine that it goes all over the place there. I don't know. I reckon that we are in good enough shape with these, and all we need to do is renaming. And I am gonna be a peasant and whoa, freeze. Okay, that was super scary. Everything froze for a split second. So normally I would just iterate over the selection and rename with a script, or you would have a script that does this kind of thing. You could even use the Maya rename tool. It's actually pretty decent for these things. The reason I'm doing it this way is that as I do it, and also I'm also making sure that I like the names, and I'm not going to comment on each and every one of them. Now we could look at this as a chance to compress things a little bit, so maybe there's a node or two in our leg that we can clean out. Clamp displacement. So this might be interesting. This might be our chance for optimization, air quotes, kind of, that we were looking at before. This is the limited length, and this is basically telling us, hey, ankle word to the hip. So no, we only received the limited. Limited length. So this is a distance between two. We're already clamping that distance. We're already looking at that. But we're getting a position. See, if I had a... is there a vector length node? There isn't, is there? Like, you need to always get 2 points, so all you have is distance. Clamp distance, so we're probably already getting that clamp distance here. That is also nice in a way because it happens sooner than all of this stuff. So it gives us a chance to stagger the graph. If you've seen the last episode, just the profiler part, it was the only real time like thing worth of time, I reckon. We could try that. Can I just reconnect that and expect the expression to work? Let's save and try it. So actually, let's have a super quick look at these. So this is rescaling your vector. Yeah. And it's a piecewise multiplication, I believe. Anyway, that's fine. It seems that this is redundant. Let's give it a shot. Seems legit. And let's see, does the expression change as you would expect it in that case? Come on. Object filter, DAG objects. So, easiest way to do this is actually grabbing one of the outputs Actually, let's go selected objects. What parameter is it? Rotate X. And then tag object so it doesn't jump all over the place. Can I? Yes, I can. Config parameters, femur length. Should be okay. Ankle to hip clamp distance, output R. That's good. So by reconnecting the input, it actually has modified its occurrence in the expressions, probably because our layout is pretty easy to parse and do a substitution on. Go as, go Maya. This pleases me. And it might also mean that we can strip off a bunch of stuff. So, does this go out anywhere? This converted to position to go in there. Still seems good. Broken foot is kind of funky, but we'll fix that. I like it. I think it's good. There's some semblance of things still functioning, so if we made a mistake anywhere, we have enough material to fix it later. Save again. I did not want it to resize anything, but sure. Go as. What else do we need? I've renamed. I've moved things in the right container. I have connected the right parameters. I've even optimized go as. I don't think we need anything else. I think that this is our refactoring done for this part. Am I forgetting anything? Chat, help me out. Can you think of anything I've forgotten, please? I really need you on this because I don't want to do this 15 times. Leg limited ankle is getting a 1, which means we might be clashing with the name of something else. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, it's probably one of the nodes we deleted. Is it possible? What happens if I rename you? You don't let me rename you. You do not like. So there must be one clashing. Am I blind? I can't see a clash for that. Did I lock it maybe? No log. All right. Can an object only exist in one asset container, or do you need to remove them from the leg global manually? That's a good question. If I remember well, very good question. I have this thing in my head because I both at home and at work we completely automate that process. I remember them to be partitions in a way, so that they can only they're mutually exclusive. But the way their layout works is actually quite simple, so it's possible that something will happen. So it is in the leg global, and that's good news. It's sorry, in the leg, and that's good news. That's what we want. And this looks like, I don't know if you can see with the compression and everything. I'm looking at the highlighting, and it's highlighting exactly what I would expect. Let's see. Select asset controls. Yeah. So they are partitions, and for those of you that don't know, when you have sets, sets can overlap, which gets you a set intersection. So this is true in general. It's actually true in Maya as well. So you could create a set and have a bunch of objects in there, and you could create another set that has some of those objects shared. Now the idea of a partition is that partitions are mutually exclusive. They claim exclusivity of the population. So if you have something like A, B, C, and D, then you have another partition. So this is a set, and so is that. Whereas if you have a partition, what happens is if you have something like that, and you decide that D should be included in here, then D cannot be in here. And I think that's, you know, I don't think there's a mathematical equivalent called partition, but that's what partitions work like in a number of softwares. They are isolated containers. Exclusive ownership, whatever you want to call them. So let's reshuffle this graph a tiny little bit, because this view being tidy has been extremely important for us, and I would like it to remain tidy. And I guess at this point we should also fix this interface and clean up the stuff that we don't use from here. So definitely a save moment. Deleting attributes, sometimes a gamble. So femur length, tibia length, go away. Thank you for your service. You're now dismissed. In here, we have the rolled ankle. We are cool with that. What we need to add is the up vector, and this is in word space, I imagine, yes. So I don't know what I did there. Something moved, but whatever. I think we're fine. My last famous words. I have several naming conventions fighting for space in my brain. I should have done that with two things selected, I guess. I definitely want the same thing in here. Not the bestest names ever, but good enough, serviceable for work. Remember, the animators don't see this stuff. This is for us, so you can rename these at a later time and you will be fine. Up vector frame. Oh, we had one. So let's have a look. Undo select, undo select, undo connect, undo select, undo add attribute, up vector word. Wow, we still have it there, good. I do believe we're still good at this point. I think something might... no, actually, this is probably correct. It's just that we're so overstretched that it looked kind of funky. Yeah, no, we're still good. Very good. So, refactoring of leg in good place. I don't wanna... What I want, so when I have a view like this, what I want it for the most part, is at a glance knowing what the population of things is and whether something is jumping boundaries. So like what I did before, where I go, okay, I want to go asset, select all contents, and I want to see a clear island when I select all the contents of the leg to know that I don't have stuff scattered around everywhere. You might also want to check the population, so you know, clean it up. Graph it like that, see what's in it, look at the connections, you know, you have a time here, that's a factory one, so you can't really mess with it, but make sure that you don't have stuff that is not in there, and once you get to non-selected things in your connections, you go, okay, where is it? This is from the leg output, that's cool, and actually, let's do something else, so 0 and 1, so you should never see more than one item that's not highlighted. And all of those should only be things like shading groups, you know, add them to the auxiliary nodes and don't show them or whatever. Foot input, that's correct. We're going from the leg to the foot. And in here, we're receiving from leg global, God node, and God node. So these are, like, this is an output. We have a bit of a funky situation coming from the pilot season, but this is the correct output for the God node. This is the hip offset, and it's got no Lego, so this is in the underword, so this is all correct. And the other thing I look for is for obvious things crossing boundaries they shouldn't cross. So sometimes you will have to kind of fight these graphs. So in here, an example, I have the foot, and I'm looking at all of its connections, and I'm going, okay, it's receiving from somewhere else, that's okay. Something here is crossing boundaries though, an example, like I would expect this not to do what it's doing now, and there you go. See, that's why I find this useful. At one point, if it's tidy enough, you'll be able to tell this shouldn't happen. I mean, there's the foot stuff, and that's okay, because we haven't moved the foot around much. So let's move that, actually, let's do it. And then we'll have to figure out, okay, this is the leg. At some point, I mean, it's going to get tough. But this definitely looked out of place. And what it turns out it is us wanting the rotation from there. So we should not, come on, we should not be getting it from another component. We just broke the contract that all connections between components exist only between outputs and inputs. Where the ankle rolled out, so this is going out where you would expect it to go. There's a bit of wastage here. So this is in word space, which means that if we just convert these, or is it the rolled ankle to an SRT, to scale, rotate, translate with the decompose will be good. Yeah, I want to do that. Do I already have that conversion? I'd be surprised if we didn't. I mean, with all the work we're doing with these. No, I take it back. We are being very minimalist, which is good. We like that. We're also cool with these. So it's taking, yeah. Oh no. Oh, you defy me again, node editor. I wish there was an option to go like, when I hit 1 without anything selected, I don't want it to mess with my entire graph. If I have nothing selected, I want it to take no action. Can I please have that option? Anyway, this is in word space, so we should be cool to just convert the word metric that we're passing through. Decompose, come on, decompose matrix. We are going to roll the ankle, limited ankle. So I should at this point change this name because it's dangerously misleading. I'm limiting after the fact at this point, and I will do that. This is the moment to be tidy. An undo buffer for node editor navigation. Yes, that will be the other thing. So you can split the undo for Maya, where you go like there's an undo stack for the commands and stuff like that, and that's Control Z and Shift Control Z or whatever you have it bound to, and then you have the view undo where you can go Alt Z and it will undo the viewport, which is I don't know if it's always had it. I don't remember when it was introduced, but it was something that I think XSI had first, and it's like it's so important to have. To be able to undo what you're doing, like in terms of your mental organization of something, even if it's changed nothing of the topology of the graph or the actions of the loops, it's invaluable. And they've done it pretty well for the viewport. Like the view undo works really well. But for the graph, if you move something and it's not what you wanted to move, it's like, yeah, you kind of, you know, S out of L. Anyway. Stuff that's done well and some stuff that could really use some polish. I think this still puts us in a decent place. Now the other thing when you're working with assets without any wrappers that you need to be very cognizant of is make sure that either you have advanced asset, set current asset, either you have none and you always populate them by hand after the fact, or that you switch these to where you need it to be. Otherwise, you will find that you end up with stuff all over the place. So, is this anywhere? Oh, wow. You are at the other end of the word. Okay. Scroll. I would like that to be in the leg container. Thank you. And I would like to ensure that it's in there. Yes. I would also very much like to save, because you never know. And limited ankle should be called, it should just be the ankle, but it's the word ankle frame. I don't, sorry. So when you click from one field to another, if there's been a modification of any kind, I imagine to avoid some bug or something like that. Yeah, in that case it redid my nice name, which is cool, but That's just the fact that it zeroes out all your fields. It's like, seriously? What are you thinking of there? How is that helpful? Anyway. Let's say that this is, sorry, Lego Dinko frame. Sure. Mentioned this before. I would like an extract rotation, extract translation, and so on. Ryan Porter has actually written those. He was bored allegedly, and has written those. If you don't mind using custom nodes, go and get them. Can you put a link to that repo in the chat if you have it at hand, Ryan? I'm always kind of like aware of showing websites on the stream because it flags you for a copyright infringement strike, so it will delay some things on the video and so on, but GitHub is usually pretty safe. So let's get Chrome. Copy link location. So there you are. If you go on, sorry, I need some water here. If you go on Ryan's GitHub page, go on github.com, search for Yanter3D. He's got a bunch of stuff that's pretty useful. I can't use it because I promised Vanilla Maya, but I recommend you do. And matrix components is the one I have been talking about this season. Well done, Ryan. So, moving on. We have refactored the leg. We're just about 35 minutes in. Not too bad. So we did this because we wanted to get the guides in the right place, which I feel like we are kind of ready to do. I'm a bit on the fence on on that output. It bothers me that I know exactly why it's out like that, and it's correct that it is. It bothers me to no end, but I think I gotta get my priorities straight and guide the leg now. Ah, super scratchy. Everything here seems in good order. I reckon I move on. So fine with that. Fine with that. And I sort of have a mental model of how I organize things in the graph. It comes with practice, so I have no interest in telling you what it is. It's how I offset the nodes, how I put them together, and all of that. It's kind of like naming conventions in a way. If you sort of do things always the same way, you will find that eventually, even zoomed out at a glance, you can tell a few things about a graph, and it's pretty useful. Cool. Moving on, config parameters. We do have femur length and tibia length. So our mission here, should we choose to accept it, is probably to be able to offset, well, without probably, be cool to offset the leg from the guide, like the relationship between the leg and the god node, which right now is coming from the underworld. The other thing I'm thinking of is like one of the reasons why I did all of this work was that I wanted to get rid of the god node input in the leg global, and I might have done that. So leg global and in parameters. That's just the role. That's cool. Leg leg global. Leg global input. Where is it? Where are you? So we add end word and start matrix. Ankle reparent. Because I'm now questioning. So to move these around, we're doing the offset internally, which would eventually, well, if it isn't already, it kind of is parameter. Yeah, I've done it. It's a parameter of the guide alone, so we don't really need this start matrix at all. Tempted to say, let's have a look. So I suspect, strongly suspect, that this is now, and this is what we're doing, where we're getting the underword. So we're getting this thing here, getting an offset, multiplying them, which is, you know, kind of adding them, if you want, in a more visual terms. Master offset control. Yeah, I don't think. No, so sorry, I had to think for a second there. We were using these, which was bothering me, the fact that we added in the underword to keep two things in sync, to drive both the leg global and the leg input. Now, I want to be able to guide this thing. I'd like to be able to guide this thing from the guide in the leg, and I think we just negated its use entirely. It was for that length and limited length and all of that. So I reckon we can sever that one. So let's start matrix, sever it, see what happens. Are you connected to anything? No, only the end word. So save attributes, edit attributes. No, not edit attributes. Delete attributes, start matrix, go away. Thank you. Good. Cleaning up, like the best kind of fix, the best kind of refactor is when you get rid of stuff. It's well known. It's actually true, for the most part, unless you get rid of something useful. In that case, it's not so good. And I said that I wanted to take a shot at fixing that underword. I don't think we do have it. So let global input. That doesn't have any other inputs any longer other than the God node to position this stuff. And it needs it because it needs to position these and these in word space. That is good and proper. Now, the part that was bothering me, which is not graphed here, is this one. So these two are underword. So I reckon they deserve an addition in this graph. Let me save, because Maya might decide to teleport my graph all over the place, and let me show inputs for these. So this is, oops, sorry for this one. That's just the offset. There you go. So we don't have in this, like this was whole leg and it's becoming whole rig. So it doesn't have the God node. We don't strictly need it just yet. So this is our connection to the God node. And my mission is now to move it inside the leg. Chat, help me out. Is this making sense? Like, do you guys see, guys and girls? Do we have any women today on? I don't think so. I hope so, but I don't think so. Like, is it obvious why I'm doing this? No. Well, if not obvious, like, is it understood why I'm doing this? Or what I'm doing, in fact, in general. So leg output. Now these. Okay, this is the one that I said. I'm gonna keep it here for now. I'm cool with that. This should be pretty trivial to move in. So start word is actually going out to a couple things. This offset is something that I want to create with the guide. Refactoring by moving nodes. I don't know, it's kind of cathartic when you do it. I have no idea what it's like watching it. I mean, I can watch people write code and enjoy it, like Jonathan Blow, Casey Morator, and so on. Like, I often have their streams in the background. I have no idea if it transfers well to people modeling. So, start word. Okay, this is kind of... No, it shouldn't be a dangerous refactor actually, because like this is literally passing through. So if I go to here and to here, I have just made that start word mostly irrelevant. Now, so this is in, and that's good. The tricky bit is, well, not really tricky actually, is I don't want this. I want to get rid of that as early as possible, because that will cycle. And at that point, all I really care for is that this is crossing the boundary. This should go through the input, and it's not. Which means that it should be as simple as doing that. So, okay, I think we're still good. I think we have refactored. Like, I need to, whatever. Like, this is terrible. Too fast. It's like, it looks like a bug. It looks like we're popping or something. Okay, better. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it. I like what we got. If I don't have more refactoring to do, I might actually call it here, because it feels like we got a good chunk of work. Well, not right away. I mean, I still need to clean up this stuff and rename it and move it into the asset, but that's about it. It's a good time for questions if you want to put any in the chat right now. And sorry, I had to check. I had a couple messages coming up on Twitch. And I haven't really started on the guide, but I now have every parameter that I want in the guide properly placed. So I should be able next time to make short work of these. Again, more or less famous words, they will all haunt me. So this is just Lego heap offset. Seems legit. We can probably keep these names, in fact. This is the heap offset as a matrix, and these will get replaced by the guide element. Might have missed it. You mentioned vector length. Did you mean you wanted a single node without extracting points, like vector product of vector on itself in dot mode? Yeah, the long story short is pretty much that. And it's one of the nodes, like it's one of the first nodes that you write. I don't know if any of these, I would have to look, but I think these are modeling ops. There's, what is it? What's the vector product, I think, is the one that has. So vector product here has no op dot cross vector matrix point matrix, you know. Basically it's got, and it's fine, I'm okay with that, because it means that you get vectors in, and other than the dot, which is a bit dodgy, and you get vectors out. So it's field to field. What is completely missing is something where I can just give it one vector and please get the magnitude of that. So length is incorrect, it will be magnitude. And I would like the square magnitude as well if possible, because very often when you want comparisons, when you want longer or shorter than, you don't need the square root that comes with a vector length. If you want to see if a vector is over the normal or below the normal, then all you need is the squared length. You don't need to perform the additional square root to get the actual length. If you have comparisons, if you want to see if a vector is longer than n, which we do all the time, if you have a squared length or square magnitude or whatever you want to call it, you just take your I can do it. You just take your distance that you want to check against, you square that, which is pretty cheap, and yeah, and then you compare against that with the square length. If that doesn't make sense, don't worry over much. Like, I'm at this point, I know the people in chat here probably all know all of that. If you're listening in on YouTube, if you haven't watched the vector math videos, but none of these needs to make sense to you too much. Don't worry. Anyway, did I move them into the asset? I think so. I'll move them again just in case. There's no penalty. Oh, so something else that I should probably mention. It's gonna be super hard for you to see here. But if something is assetized, you will see a box that is shaded so badly, box icon that is shaded so badly in the corner of its icon here, not in the node editor, because I don't know, that tells you, hey, this isn't an asset. So in here you will see all these boxes at the bottom. They look like balls, but they're boxes. Whereas if you look at our function curves, they don't have it because they're not assetized, they're not in a container. And these function curves are actually set-driven key kind of curves, so they have it. And when you black box a container, which is pretty good for encapsulation, you should see, but you don't, because reasons, I don't know, probably the view isn't refreshing. They should turn into black boxes, literally. They used to. I don't know if they broke it. Do you want me to plug it? I'd be happy to if you want. And talking to Sergey. You ready for prime time? So I've renamed. I've done my job here. I think this is a pretty good place to be. Am I forgetting chat? I really need you here because I am not sure if I'm forgetting something or not. To me, this seems like a successful refactor and the end of the refactor part. There might be more options here and there to optimize a little bit, but I think this is in a good place. So actually, let me ask in chat. Does it make it harder to work on a rig with a lot of assetization or easier? I thought it was more of a finishing process. It's a good question. It depends, really. Neither. I can't say it's, I can't really say makes it easier or harder. It will give you some things, like the fact that at a glance you can go, well, you really want to write yourself a few scripts to manage this process. I'm doing everything by hand to show what is going on, and it's like it takes considerably longer than it would if I didn't have to narrate, and if I could actually write myself a few tools before doing the work. It will give you some things where you go, hey, select everything at a glance. It's kind of encapsulation, bookmarking. At a glance, you get quite a few things out of it. So it's useful in those regards. But if you do it wrong, if you're forgetful, if you're not practiced with it, it can, like in this case, it just showed me, you didn't drag this. It was not in the asset. Cool. It now is. Also, God no, not in an asset, but that's because we haven't assetized it. It can be pretty good to hide things on the fly. So if you look at what we did in the first season, you don't want it maybe right away, the first moment, and if you work on a single component for a library, you definitely want to do it as a finishing pass. Doing it midway for a rig, it might not be bad, look, because it entirely depends on how many tools you're willing to put on top of it, and whether it helps you to have that encapsulation and ease of selection and tracking and so on, versus the fact that you have the additional load of having to track that as well in your brain. It's one more knife to keep in the air in the great rigging juggling. It's up to you. I wouldn't say it makes it terribly more complicated. There's nothing, they're not a hard thing, like a hard rule, so you're not really screwing yourself by doing it where you go like, oh, if you do something wrong, the rig isn't gonna work. It's literally encapsulation. It's like bookmarking. Yeah, I reckon I'm gonna call it at this for the actual contents of the episode. It's feels good, like the whole refactoring done. I'll keep it. I'll take it. And next time around, we're gonna finally get to the leg guide. I was hoping to get more done this week, but this is probably what I would have liked to have yesterday. But without yesterday, I don't think this would have been such a smooth process. There don't seem to be any questions forthcoming, so I reckon I'm gonna stop it here. Giving it like a minute for the stream to catch up. And if people think of something, if not, end of the line. So yeah, these all seems in good order actually. And someone was saying there's gonna be another plug next week. Somebody is doing a lot of work for the common folk, being a hero, and they'll get a plug eventually when they feel ready for plugging. That came across kind of wrong, but all right. Thanks everybody, and thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next one where we will add the guide for the leg. Go us. Have a good day.